Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton is moving center stage with warnings about China's growing threats to the U.S. He's out with a new book called 7 Things You Can't Say About China. Cotton says the threat ranges from TikTok's impact on our kids to what he believes is China's preparation for war against America. Tony Dokoupil sat down with the junior senator, originally from Yell County, to hear what concerns him most and to talk about President Trump's first month in office.
Most Americans have a justly low opinion of communist China, but I think they don't understand the full extent of the threat that China poses to our way of life, to you and to your family. And I wanted to ring the alarm bell to make it clear to every American that this is not something that's going to happen in the future or that is an abstract threat to our strategic interests, but rather is a threat in their own communities and their own families right now, here today.
Well, you definitely ring the alarm bell. You call China an evil empire. You say it wants to dominate the world, as the U.S. does today. Taiwan is key to that happening. Should America defend Taiwan if China reaches for it?
Well, I think our goal should be to prevent China from trying to invade or occupy or blockade Taiwan in the first place. I think Taiwan is the most dangerous flashpoint in the world. Any kind of conflict over Taiwan will only have losers here in America and on Taiwan. It could lead to a stock market crash here where Americans lose their life savings, mass unemployment, shortages on our shelves, to say nothing of the loss of thousands of American troops and hundreds of aircraft and ships.
So bottom line, we need it, they want it, we can't let them have it.
Yeah, and I think it's been a longstanding position that we want the peaceful status quo, that we do not want a forcible effort to change the status quo across the state. We can continue to live with it if we're strong and clear that we will not allow communist China to blockade or invade and annex Taiwan back to the mainland.
When you wrote this book, well, first of all, you described TikTok as a spy app. President Trump has signed an extension which continues to allow TikTok to operate. Have you talked to the president about your concerns?
I've made it clear that I think we need a clean break between TikTok and communist China if it's going to continue to operate in America.
Have you picked up the phone and spoken to the president about this?
I've said that it would have been better, in my opinion, to have enforcement of the law as it's written from the first day. The law says that even after it goes into effect, if there is a divestment that totally cuts ties between TikTok and communist China, then it can be platformed again in the United States. I think that's where President Trump wants to get, and that's fine. Again, TikTok without communist China in control of it is just another social media app.
We got to talk about Ukraine, because right now, as we're sitting here, U.S. officials, Marco Rubio among them, are meeting with Russian officials in Saudi Arabia to talk about ending that war. You're a foreign policy guy.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this approach with Europe not at the table, Ukraine not at the table? Some people would say China loves the idea of America breaking from its European allies.
I think President Trump has been clear that once communication is reestablished with Russia and there's a framework or parameters or contours for negotiations about a truce, that President Zelensky and his team will be included about bringing an end to the Ukraine war.
But how does America look at China and say, don't you dare when it comes to Taiwan, if Russia is daring and getting Ukraine?
Well, I wish the invasion hadn't ever happened in the first place. And I would point out it didn't happen on Donald Trump's watch. I think we have to be clear that this is not going to happen again in Ukraine or elsewhere in Europe, but it's also not going to happen in Taiwan either.